This episode is sponsored by ATB. Mom, what does ATB stand for?
Alberta Treasury Branch. Next question.
Okay. Do you know the name of their campaign?
Bill to help Albertans. Next question.
That's right. And speaking of questions, they're there to answer your questions that are commonly asked by Albertans in these tough times. Karen, what's a commonly asked question that you never get an answer to?
Why doesn't Neil Diamond love me?
Perfect. ATB, you better get on it. In 1938, They were opened. They provide supports for Albertans during these hard times. Like when Karen asks you a question, you have to let her down easy. But ATB is still there to support Albertans through the bad and the good.
Everyone thinks Neil Diamond's old. ATB is older than Neil Diamond.
That's right. We're dropping actual facts here. But they're also here to help Albertans because it's a downturn. People are slowly recovering and it's not quite over. But they're built to help Albertans. So they're going to rebuild and we're going to find a new normal. And ATB's going to give you a call and tell you about Neil Diamond.
You should get an account there.
I have one. I have a debit.
I've raised you well. Good for me.
Yeah.
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, bop, bop.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first The Breakfast Dish podcast of 2022. Hello, Griffin. Do you feel any different in 2022, my son, my boy?
I guess my answer changes if we're still in season 3, right? We're not claiming a new season. This is still season 3?
No, 25 episodes a season, so we're still in season 3, but it's a totally new year.
Then I don't feel different.
Really?
Well, I have made a resolution, and you called me out recently for not calling you Mum enough on this podcast. I call you Karen too much. So let's bring some more family into this. Kevin Cork, my father, your husband, if you're listening, I have an announcement for you, and I'm making it right here on the breakfast dish. You told me not to do the not the ancestry, the 23andMe spit into a tube kit. Well, I did it, Kevin. I am going to do it. I'm going to go find out. I don't care if my insurance price is raised. I think that might be a conspiracy theory. Or I'm the fool, and our listeners will tell me. But either way, that's information gathering, and I'm here for it.
Or you find out something that means that you can't call me Mom anymore.
Right. Well, here's the other thing, is that I kind of cheaped out on the medical side of this test. So I don't actually get the medical information, but I can upgrade. This sounds like this is a plug for 23andMe. It's not. This is as close as I've gotten for Teen Rebellion in years.
Going against your father? How dare you?
Anarchy! Anarchy!
You know what's going to be different about 2022?
What? Sorry, what?
We've never had this guest on before. And then I was excited about that. And then I realized I don't think we've ever doubled up on a guest before.
They're all the same. Yeah, they're all different. I think that's kind of the point.
Here's what's good about 2022. The Chinook Blast Festival is back, inaugurated in 2021, dreamt of in 2020, and here to talk about it. The executive director mastermind behind Chinook Blast.
No.
Frank?
Let's go back to executive mastermind for a second.
Executive mastermind.
Why isn't every position in charge that title?
Well, that's what we're going to call Franca from now on.
I love it.
Franca Gualtieri, welcome to the breakfast dish. You executive mastermind you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be part of it.
Me too. Sorry. I'm just giggly. I like Franca so much, and now we have her on the podcast.
I'm never mad at you for laughing. That cannot be my MO in 2022. I will say, I would say I'm at least the VP mastermind for the breakfast dish. So how about you two tell the story of how you first met? Do you both remember?
Yes. I believe, Franca can tell me if I'm wrong, but our former wonderful mastermind Mayor Nenshi was just in the throes of his campaign, about to go into the election, and he'd come to see the 10-Minute Play Festival, which is part of the High Performance Rodeo. And I was hosting, and he and you, I believe, were in the audience. I don't know if you were there in the audience or not, but he, through many means, we coaxed him into guesting on Dirty Laundry, the improvised soap opera, on that night. And did he follow through? Yes, he did. It was amazing. He was already mayor. He was barely mayor, like maybe 3 months that he came in.
Mayor.
Anyway, here's the thing. Oh, no, wait. Franca
hold on.
Is Naheed Nenshi's brain. Brain, not heart. Brain, Give us your full description of what you were doing for Mayor Nenshi, Franca.
Oh, wow. Well, my official title there was office manager, and I was his executive assistant. But I don't believe in titles. I never have, as you know, Karen. I just, my goal was to always think about what he needed before he actually knew he needed it, and to be 2 steps ahead. So that was always my goal, but it's really hard to put that on a business card.
Oh no, but that's exactly what you were. And I know I title because I know other people care about titles. I'm just going to keep calling you executive mastermind of everything.
I love it.
That's the thing. Whenever Mayor Nenshi was going to be involved in something I was doing, it was always talk to Franca. And then we became friends, and then we became lovers.
Sorry.
Then
What?
we fell in love with each other.
Sorry. Oh my God. Teen rebellion is happening all over the place on this episode. I don't
Anyway,
even know if that's going to work out in the edit. I hope the comedic timing is still there for that.
Frank and I got to share a beautiful breakfast together when it wasn't stay away from each other times.
Yes.
Franca included me in a wonderful interview about Mayor Nenshi's time as mayor.
Well, we can also just stop talking about Nenshi.
Well, the one great thing that I don't know if Karen remembers, but I do, is I'm quite sarcastic. So when we got him over to Dirty Laundry, I said, it's always about him. And I was teasing with her, as I typically do. And what made me very proud that day was that my name actually made it into the play. So there was the term Franca thrown in there, and I was just tickled pink because it was the first time that my name was ever mentioned on stage.
Oh.
So that is kind of where this our love for each other started, and then our breakfast, which was wonderful. I often tell people that my family photos consist of all my family, and then there's one of Karen and I from our breakfast, and one of the write-ups that she kind of created from the breakfast series. But little does she know that was one part of my life that actually changed my life. And it sits in my room every day, and I walk by it every morning. And it's something that I kind of cherish. So I always joke around because people look at my family photos and they're like, who's she? And I'm like, that's Karen Johnson Diamond.
Anyway, moving on.
And then they go, who's she?
No, come see the rest of the house. Well, listen, I'll send you some screen caps of this Riverside FM recording, so then you have a breakfast series picture and a breakfast dish picture, and I'll make sure to kind of half cut me out, so you'll just see like me holding up a peace sign, but you won't see my face.
I'll be doing this.
Hey, that's not good to do. I don't want to, listen, I won't call you out here, and I won't kind of describe to our listeners what you just did, but
I pulled my
it was
hair up,
insensitive.
stuck my tongue out, and looked as ugly as I possibly can.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
difficult.
really downplaying what she just did.
No,
Wow.
It's not difficult next to Franca. Franca is the most beautiful woman in the world. I think you get tired of me saying that, but every time I talk to you, it's usually before 9 a.m. in the morning. I see you before 9 a.m. I talk to you before 9 a.m. And you're always beautiful and gorgeous and sunny, and I'm probably still drooling with sleep gunk in my eyeballs.
I don't think that's the case, and I will let you in on a secret. I sleep in rollers every night.
But I want that. Now, I need a roller that doesn't hurt when I sleep on it.
Well, I sleep in Velcro rollers, so I can't help you there. I haven't found a soft roller.
Oh, you're a good sleeper then.
I try.
Congratulations.
I take 7 Valium.
Congratulations.
Absolutely, I do.
Were there times, let me jump off that. Were there times in your previous career as the emperor of all things wonderful for Mayor Nenshi that you wanted to take 7 Valiums?
Not per se, but there were times where I just didn't want to get out of bed. And I just wanted to stay in bed one day and so forth. But overall in that world, it taught me so much. As many times as, you experience the not so great days, they never wait out the amazing moments and the amazing people that I got to meet. I've often said that when I first started, I didn't understand arts, and I really didn't. And I will say that out loud. And as I went through my years, I understand the importance of arts and culture and what it means to a city. And that is something that, even on those stressful days, it's something that I get to take away with, and to be able to apply it and be part of something great as I go on into my new career, I couldn't be happier.
And then you jumped right on the board of One Yellow Rabbit, right?
I sure did, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, in the way that arts relate to and benefit a city. I also didn't know how to explain it until Nenshi told it to me in our documentary. In terms of the actual benefits of soft and hard power, how arts benefit a city, it's a very outstanding view. And listen, Karen, we can't do a full gotcha journalism of like her time as she's still a city employee. So
I know.
Yeah, we can't do a tell all here.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I'm tired of talking about Emperor Nenshi. So let's move on.
Good Lord. He's never allowed on this show, especially if he hears this episode. Bring me my grapes.
You jumped on the board of One Yellow Rabbit.
Yes.
And was it that company that just sparked you, or was it arts in general and they asked you, like, what got you on that board?
So it was arts in general, but they asked me. So, you often hear about volunteering in our city, regardless if it's for the arts, that, all you have to do is ask. And I was approached and they wanted me to be part of it. And they wanted me to be part of it for who I was. And I was quite excited. Now, I also was starting to form the seeds of what we call Chinook Blast today. And as you know, it's one of our pillar programs. So I thought, what a great way to be involved and understand and work through. So I have been on the board. I'm still continuing to be on the board. And it was interesting to kind of be on. So we started off trying to become an arts champion. And for somebody who only thought arts was a big theater company called, when Broadway came to visit into Calgary, I learned so much. It started off with, bringing somebody to a different type of performance and understanding. There was a panel, and one of the panelists said to me, I don't know why people in the city always say you should just come do this for free so that you can promote yourself. And I remember sitting and hearing, and I thought, that's me. And I remember sitting, and it was beside, Naheed, and I said, I'm that person. And it really impacted me. And I vowed that I would change. So I thought, let's kind of go through. And at the end of the arts luncheon, he used to give assignments and he used to give things to do. So one was to bring somebody to, a different type of production or to join your local board. And I thought, well, I've never been on a board and I don't know what I can contribute. And then it seemed like months later, there was a knock on my door and I was asked to be part of One Yellow Rabbit board. And I've been there ever since. And it's always kind of a joy. It's like, I've got a rabbit meeting. I'm so excited. And I'm still there. And as I said, I've now got to really work within the arts. And prior to changing careers, that was part of my portfolio. So if we talk about titles in the former role, I got to take care of arts and culture and partnerships. And in our breakfast series, we talked about it's not just what I see on stage. I realize what happens on stage is what takes me away, but there is so much that happens behind. And one of the benefits that I had was I usually got to meet the cast and crew. And you know what? It was just as exciting to meet the cast and crew. And I've been really blessed that I was able to go to New York. And I actually had a weekend of theater. We saw 5 performances in 4 days. And
Nice.
It was absolutely amazing. And it was funny. I'm going to keep it pretty high level because everything is amazing there. But we had tickets to a pretty outstanding performance. And it was great. But out of the 5 I saw, it wasn't my favorite. And I think that would be shocking for most to hear. And, sometimes the smaller, sometimes the ones that kind of have the smaller cast. I saw the audience, and it was interesting because it was a one cast, and it was just remarkable, and so forth. So it's been interesting, and it was interesting because I also started purchasing theater tickets. And I remember purchasing tickets from one of my nieces, and I sent her to Shakespeare Theater Company, and she looked at me and she says, "Where does this go?" And then my favorite story about my family who was involved with me is the simple fact that I got tickets to the high performance rodeo and I brought a cousin. Again, for her safety, I'll leave her name out of it. She comes to my house and she's wearing boots and a cowboy hat and she goes, like, what feature are we seeing? I'm like, okay, you're going to embarrass me. So first we need to go get changed and we're going to go see theater. So it's kind of been a real big evolution for me. And then to be the executive director of Chinook Blast, where I get to bring arts to the community has brought me a lot more joy. I remember when I was ending my term in the mayor's office, and I remember saying, "You gave it to me too late." And my goal was to be able to find a new role that would allow me to do it and continue. We would like to definitely do a Chinook Blast, not under the veil of COVID, so it could be in its real form. This year, of course, we were all disappointed that the high performance rodeo had to cancel. But in the same breath, we are really excited at Chinook Blast that on our community stage, there's going to be a few performances. So we're going to be able to give citizens a taste of that. And it's going to be live streamed. So we're hoping to reach audiences that haven't ever really seen it. And I think that's just it, is we don't know what we don't know in the arts. And I was one of those people. And when you learn what we have to offer, we've got an amazing scene, an amazing art scene, an amazing community. And I don't think anybody can actually feel it until they're immersed in it.
No one has ever said it better, Franca, honestly.
For those our listeners who don't know, do you want to just back up a little bit and talk about the kind of inception and the very base mandate of like what Chinook Blast is and came to be?
It definitely can. So it started off as an idea, and I know his name is being mentioned lots. From when I can remember starting in the mayor's office, he used to say, "We need to have a winter festival here." And he was a big fan of Block Heater. He was a big fan of the high performance rodeo. He's also a big fan of sport. And there's so much that happens in the winter. So it was talked about. And anybody who knows me, nothing probably drives me more nuts than just talking about something. So there was one point where I knocked on the door and he was sitting there and he said, "We really need a winter festival." And I looked and I said, "Can I have it? Can you give me the chance?"
Whoa.
And he said, "Sure." So one of my skills that I'm able to bring is I like bringing people together and I like working in collaboration. So I called civic partners that all kind of fit our winter strategies, our winter plans, including in the theater production. And we had grand ideas, like those very first brainstorming ideas talked about, having the arts, talked about flooding out Stephen Avenue and only having an ice rink, which I wasn't keen on because I don't know how to skate. And we planned, and it started to kind of evolve. And it was amazing to see how many people wanted to be part of it. So to bring those topics together of sport and nonprofit and arts and community, it was amazing. And then we got hit with what we call COVID. And I remember sitting with the group that was part of the inaugural group, and I said, "We tried. Do we want to continue on?" And around the table, they said, "Yes, we're going to do something." So the word that we used quite heavily in 2021 was we pivoted. We pivoted a lot. And it came to the point where the week before we were told anything that had longer than 45 seconds would create a gathering. So we had to pull those artists. We had 120 artists on board and we were still able to support them through, but we had to pull it. We couldn't even have fire pits. They pulled the fire pits the Thursday before we opened, and it was a polar vortex that first weekend. And it really became
45 seconds?
45, anything longer than 45 seconds, they would not let us have. So we had creative ideas of putting arts behind, storefront windows. We had just different. We had a great group of people who wanted to make it happen. And, we turned around and we evolved. And Chinook Blast was an amazing feat last year with everything that we were against. I try to remind people it wasn't restriction time, it was lockdown. Yeah. So we did. It was more of our we still be able to incorporate artists, which were great. We had an amazing light show and we welcomed close to 400,000 people downtown during those 3 weekends. So came on and I looked at the team that I was working with and I said, we're going to try it again. And I'm partnered with Tourism Calgary, and that's where I'm working. And they had seen the importance of having a winter festival for so many reasons, for our economy, for tourism, and eventually we want this to be like our summer festival that we call Stampede, when people are planning their trips. And, again, we had a lot of people come to the table. We were very excited that our pillar programs came. So you were looking at Glow, we're looking at Block Heater, High Performance Rodeo, as well as the Ethnic Festival, and the Big Winter Classic. And some of them had to postpone, and we supported them. It wasn't a point of, but you're our pillar program. It was, those patrons needed to feel safe. So the one thing that I can share that was quite remarkable was I was in a meeting with the pillar programs and people have postponed and, there were some cancellations. but they're formed a community, and that's what the arts does. So there was a group that postponed, and it warmed my heart to see them say, when we postpone to our date in March, our stage is open to you.
Oh.
And I don't know if that ever would have happened before. And, as I said, we didn't want to feel like we were pushing, but we're going to be able to highlight some of their performers on our community stage. No, it's not going to be a high performance rodeo. I know that, but it's going to be a taste, and it's going to be able to be live streamed. So are we going to be able to touch people who maybe never experienced it? And I think that's the point of community. You look, and we had Katrina Lemaine-Doe, who's been working with us in sport, and even her talking about, community. She said it very well yesterday, so I'm paraphrasing, but she turned around and she said, Olympic athletes don't just wake up and say, I'm going to be an Olympic athlete. It starts on those rinks. It starts in those, a toboggan hill. And I think we forget that we need to give. And we've been through a lot these last 2 years. So the one thing I can pride myself on the team that's always surrounded Chinook Blast is we feel it's important to bring a version of Chinook Blast, especially during the pandemic. I think our citizens need it, our communities need it, our arts need it. But you know what? We all need it. We need to warm our hearts, especially in February when we tend to hunker down because we're afraid of the winter. But bundle up, come on down. That polar vortex last year, I was down there. I have to be honest. I was only down there for 20 minutes. But you know what? It was still nice to see people out there. And I think that is what we need to do. That's community spirit. And really, that's the base of it all. And eventually, we want people to come from all corners of the city of Calgary. But as this grows, from all corners of the world. And we want to showcase because we've got the best here. And we just need to make sure we give them the stage to do that.
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
Local charities, is that you?
Am I a local charity?
You're a 24-year-old in your own apartment.
All right, listen, in Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet and electricity and natural gas from. And if you choose Park Power, you're choosing a positive local business. They're local.
Shop local.
You have to shop local. Plus, Park Power shares its profits with local non-for-profits, which is, I think, a great deal. And because those non-for-profits are looking to make a difference for their communities. And shopping local is very important to Park Power's owner, Chris Kozowski. And we love local here at the Alberta Podcast Network, so it's a great fit.
Do you think that the Park Power owner, Chris Kozowski, picked a double P because his name has a double K?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll confirm that. Chris, let us know.
Where we can confirm it is where you can also learn more, which is at parkpower.ca.
After hearing the idea of entirely flooding Stephen Avenue and making it just an ice rink, I would pay any real money to be in the room of that blue sky idea. So just like, we're going to do a snowball fight in every business on 11th Ave. Frank is going to dress up as Jack Frost and steal all the Yule logs.
Oh, Griffin, you don't know me because it did come up that I'm a Disney fan, and I'm sure it came up many a times that I was going to be pretending to be some Disney princess at some point. We had an idea of an ice palace, and I was just going to sit in this ice palace.
Katie Sheree, are you listening right now? YYC Princess. Franca is your gal. Seriously, are you familiar with YYC Princess?
I sure am. I have a great niece in my world, and she's just found the world of princesses. And I believe during the summer months, that's all we were doing was following the princesses around the city, depending on where they were going to be making their appearances. So.
I hope I'm saying Katie's last name right. She recently got married, so I'm phonetically saying how I think it's. Congratulations, Katie, on your recent nuptials.
Congratulations, Katie. Is what we're actually trying to say.
Congratulations, Katie. I'm proud of you.
I want it. I want it now. I would learn to ice skate in order to go down 7th Avenue and arrive at the ice palace that you're sitting in. Like, I'm not kidding. I just think that's so. My husband is he just loves when a city comes to life. And he always tells me this story that he was in, I don't remember, Poland or something in his younger years traveling around Europe. I can't remember the city. I honestly can't. But he'd gone to an opera. And it was -22, -23, whatever. And after the opera, everybody put on their furs and they went outside and they had drinks in the open air. So every time we'd walk out of Milestones or something on 7th Avenue or winter, he'd always go, there should be like something happening out here. The other people stood out in the freezing cold and had wine. And so anyway, when he and I walked amongst all the light show, he will not stop talking about it. He loves to see people gather downtown, and it's really romantic walking around through Glow. It's so romantic.
It truly is. And I think, I was able to be down there all 3 weekends, and, it was nice to see the downtown bustling. And I have to say, it was hard. There was times where I wanted to say, you know what, it's just not going to work this year. And I'm glad we didn't. And, I had people come up to me and say, thank you. And I remember getting into the car that night with my significant other, and I remember looking at him and saying, wow. And he goes, are you okay? And tears just streamed. And I said, that's community. Like I said, like, what an amazing thing. And it's true. You saw people, it was so great to see last year that, we encouraged strongly. It was an outdoor event, but, people were respectful. They were wearing their masks. They kept distance, but people just wanted to be around people in a safe way. And we're really excited to be able to provide that this year with a bit of a hybrid. Like, you look at Block Heater, and they had to modify. So that's my word for 2022, is we modify as required. And, you look in them and they are doing a hybrid. They are having a performance at the Jack Singer, which I think is wonderful. But in the same breath, they're also going to be performing on our community stage. So again, we're giving our citizens that option. If they're comfortable, to follow those restrictions and guidelines, they're able to, but we're also letting them see a glimpse of it, which will make Chinook Blast 2023 that much more remarkable.
Yep. Yeah, it's like you say, with your whole plan at the beginning to just go out and see little bits of theater that you didn't know were there. This, you get a taste of all these festivals, because I'm not familiar, or I wasn't before familiar with Block Heater. The Winter Classic is sportsing, right?
The Big Winter Classic is actually music as well.
Oh, shit. Okay, cut that part out, Griff.
Got it. Maybe.
But that's on my radar is One Yellow Rabbit for sure. And Glow is on my radar, but I wasn't as familiar with everything. So it is that little taste. The community stage is at Olympic Plaza. Am I right?
So that's our Chinook Blast hub. So that is at Olympic Plaza, and that is where a lot of our free activities, our family-friendly activities are going to be, and so forth, and going from there. Not saying that Glow, which is going to be down the avenue, won't be, but that's going to be where we're going to be programming that stage, and what I call everybody can kind of get a taste for it. There's 2 other things that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. The Ethnic Festival. It is, it is being done virtually this year, which I think is perfectly fine, but they've got amazing speakers. It's got such amazing energy. They're also part of our pillar program, which I think is great. The other thing that I'm most excited about, so another file that I've held and I'm holding currently is the Indigenous file. So at the Central Library, TD Bank has sponsored what we call our Hall of Famers, and they are doing their digital books, but it's actually showcasing Indigenous Hall of Famers that I don't think anybody really knows about. So, it's able to kind of give people what they need. As the year has come in, people from other areas are doing their pop-ups. So you can be in Evanston, you can be in Kincora, you can be in Crescent Heights, or even in Kensington, and you can still get that feel of Chinook Blast. So I think there's definitely things that everybody can do, and they're family friendly, but they're going to be diverse. As I mentioned, there's going to be drag shows, and there's going to be, different theater productions that are going to kind of allow the stage for all. And I think that that's an important thing as well. That's the one thing I've learned about art and sport, which maybe isn't always prevalent. But you know what? It's open to all. And I think that that will be a wonderful kind of way to come down with family or as a couple or however you see it as, and kind of go from that area. And we were also excited yesterday to announce that I think relationships speak a lot. So we were really, really happy to have Shaw come back on board as our lead sponsor. I was very pleased when they signed on with us again. It speaks to relationships. It speaks to the importance of, building those relationships, and to have them there with us again is a great joy. And we're lucky that we have sponsors from our corporate world that are willing to be part of that community.
This is a question I asked. I think I asked Savannah Harvey, which is one of our previous guests, because she's a kind of hired gun producer that runs a whole bunch of different festivals. But as someone who is kind of managing a a large amalgamation of festivals, what would you say like one tip is in terms of like considering how to bring a festival to life?
Collaboration and listening. You know, I think it's important to bring people to the table and not go with preconceived notions. And actually just kind of bring that collaboration together. We are bringing unique groups together that are always intertwined but don't realize they are. So, you know, as I said, we bring in our sport, we bring in culture, we bring in arts, but they all do the same thing. If you actually stop and think about arts, sport, and culture, they gather people. And, you know, whether it is watching an Olympic sport or watching a major sport, you're all cheering together. Whether it's in that theater and having that moment of escaping and having the amazing performance take you away. That's how I describe it. For a period of time, I'm taken away. You know, when you go to a cultural event and you get to see and experience different ways, it's all gathering people and you're all experiencing that feel. I would say that that's what it is. It's bringing the feels. You're at a concert. Like, let's be honest. It may not be your favorite music, or it may not be the music that you would typically listen to, but you're surrounded. You've got that feel. And I think that's the important part. So collaboration is, I think, what really makes it happen, and letting artists be them. We have guest curators who have been curating our weekends of local artists of all different kinds. And you know what? I think that's important too, is, you know where your strengths are, and to have them curate and bring our city to life and showcase the best. It's hard not to get excited. Like, you know, I was actually explaining to someone, we're really excited. Our last weekend, we have snow volleyball. The whole concept just shocks me. Snow volleyball. It's international. It's our first time in Calgary. We're trucking in snow into Olympic Plaza, and we're having snow volleyball. Like, you have to go see it just to go see it.
Oh, yeah.
How do you, without breaking what's the bump? How do you bump? How do you bunt the ball?
I have no idea, but I'm going to expect to see you there, Griffin, and we can watch together for the first time.
I'm not good at normal volleyball.
I'm not playing, but these international players, it's a sport. Like, you know, I think it's great. Like, I'm thinking, what are we wearing? Are we wearing like a ski suit that's like, you know, like almost like a luge suit? Like, how are they having their, you know?
Okay, wait a sec. I have to make a point of clarification. In snow volleyball, oh my God, I cannot, if I'm wrong, I'm going to be so embarrassed. In snow volleyball, is the volleyball made out of snow, or is it like beach volleyball where it's just the terrain?
I would love to say that I've done the research. So this is what I've done, Griffin. I haven't done any research. I haven't even Googled snow volleyball. I'm excited to experience it in real life for the first time. So I've actually just kind of been on I know I could Google it, but I have not. So I can't answer that question for you. I have no idea what to expect. I just know I'm going to bundle up. I'm going to watch this take place in the center of our city. And I'm just going to be with a group of people and gather and experience something new with a group of our own community. So I'm inviting everybody to do it.
Griffin, imagine it's both. Seriously, on snow and with snow.
I really have to think, okay, if it is the ball made out of snow, I am going to be baffled. However, I am equally baffled that I assumed that the ball was made out of snow, even though when I hear beach volleyball, I don't think the ball's made out of beach.
You know, I don't want to ruin your excitement, Griffin, but I don't know if it's going to work with snow. I'm thinking if it's too packed, then if it hits somebody in the head, we have a problem. So I'm going to invite you to join me to experience it for the first time.
Bring me on as your snow engineer. I'll figure out how to make a volleyball out of snow. Absolutely, I will. 100%. To serve our city, sure.
I just want to go back on something real quick. I know we're running out of time, Griff, but you just said something that I want you to make the tagline of the Chinook Blast Festival, which is Chinook Blast, bring in the feels. Like, seriously, you're exactly right. The feeling of being in front of theater, in front of music, in front of sports, in front of people smacking big snowballs around. It's all different feelings, and you're bringing them.
It is. It really, truly is. I know probably my marketing team won't feel the same as I do, but Chinook Blast brings me all the feels, and it always has. You know, it's hard not to have a big smile when you talk about it. It's not because it's something that I am leading, because I've got a great group, and none of this would happen without the partners that have been coming to the table. But I'm just excited for February. I'm excited to be able to go downtown and be with a group of people. I'm excited to be able to give the opportunity to the arts, to sport, to be on a stage. It's been hard. The last 2 years have been extremely hard on everybody, but especially those industries. So being able to, remind them that it's still important to us. I learned something over COVID, which only solidified what I already knew. We'd be lost without the arts. When I think about what kept myself entertained, it was some form of art.
Yeah.
And whether it was watching theater or watching a concert online, it was arts that got us through. And I want to remind people of that. And you look in, we had our sport bubbles, which I think were important. Didn't feel the same not being able to be there, but you were able to watch. You were still able to be part of a community. There is we have traditions about different theaters and different sporting events, and we all made sure we were on at the same time or at the same performance, and we all had our own special dinner. We all kind of had a party before virtually, but then we had a night at the arts or a night with sport. And I think that that's important. And I just want to remind people that we are lucky. We've got an amazing, amazing group of people here in Calgary. And we have the best. Let's just showcase them.
Griffin and I feel the same, which spurred on the building of this podcast.
And I am here to spur on some more chat about community, because the Breakfast Dish is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear has been originally composed by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for the Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Ermter. Karen, what else is going on this week?
Here's what's happening in and around Alberta, Griffin. Other festivals that I didn't even know about. And thanks to Franca, I'm looking for stuff I didn't know about. In Sylvan Lake, February 18th to the 21st, Sylvan Lake has Winterfest. It's a weekend of winter fun for the entire family. Sleigh rides, fireworks, and the Big Jig Fishing Tournament. There it is, the Big Jig Fishing Tournament. Tickets are free in Sylvan Lake. The hours are the 18th, 3 to 9 p.m., the 19th and 20th, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and the 21st, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lakeshore Drive, Sylvan Lake, Alberta. The other festival I want to tell you about is in a little hamlet in Alberta I didn't even know about, called Saint Isidore, and this is the Carnaval de Saint Isidore. Pardon my French. This is a festival that's been going in this little hamlet in northern Alberta called Saint Isidore since 1982, and it's fashioned after the Quebec Winter Carnival. The big event is the snow sculpting competition. They have a theme every year for sculpting. There's a professional category and also an amateur and youth category. There's also French folk and contemporary music, local talent, traditional French cooking, sleigh ride, log sawing, and other Franco-Canadian activities. It's a real celebration of the Francophone culture in northern Alberta. So that is in Saint Isidore. This is happening February 18th to the 20th. Tickets are $10 to $25. And mostly it's happening at 4 Rue Bouchard at First Street. So that's the hub. There you go, to use Franca's word, the hub.
Franca, thank you very much for joining us on The Breakfast Dish.
Thank you so much for having me. What a great joy it is to spend time with the two of you. We look forward to hosting you guys at Chinook Blast. We'll find you down those weekends. Griffin will be definitely front and center for snow volleyball. And thank you again for all that you guys do.
This is the wrong ball. You guys don't understand. Franca, where can people find out more about Chinook Blast online?
ChinookBlast.ca. Visit it often as programming is updated there regularly, and plan your weekends. Not just a day, plan your weekends and during the week, and we hope to see you down there this February.
And I imagine they're also on social media or some such?
They sure are. We're on Instagram as well as Facebook, and it's Chinook Blast.
Booyah. I'll be posting all these links in the podcast description. How we'd like to wrap up here on The Breakfast Dish is Karen will ask you an improvised question that we did not pre-plan, we did not talk about, and it only may or may not relate to what we had just talked about, as she is a professional improviser. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
If your curlers that you and I are going to sleep in every night wearing could be made out of anything besides Velcro or snow.
Got it.
What do you want curlers to be made out of?
Oh, something soft so they feel like a cushion.
Like pillow curlers, marshmallow curlers.
Mushroom curlers.
I think they'd smell after a while.
I need to end the podcast right now because I now have a second invention that's been added to my list. I'm going to go MacGruber the hell out of this. No, MacGyver. Who's MacGruber? Bye.
MacGruber's the new guy. I don't know enough about him.
Bop, 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 bop.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.